Hey guys, Brendan here. Welcome to another video. Today we are going to be talking about a hamstring exercise which you can do, which is brutal, and it's called a Nordic hamstring curl. Let's get into it. So this video specifically goes out to my mate Daniel White. He asked me a couple of weeks ago, 4 weeks ago now actually, so sorry for the delay. I actually had hip bursitis, so I couldn't do this until now. So it says, hi Brennan, could you or would you do a video on exercises for hamstrings without using a lying or seated hamstring curl? I do squats, but wondering if you can, if there's something better to isolate the back of the thighs. Thanks. So the Nordic hamstring curl is an absolutely legendary hamstring exercise. It has a strong focus on the eccentric muscle contraction, which is the lengthening phase of the lift. And if you're strong enough, you can definitely do the concentric part, but a lot of people have a hard time lifting their body weight up with their feet anchored. So what is the Nordic hamstring curl? It is a hamstring curl which is weighted by our body. We anchor our feet and we lower ourselves down. So you need to get a bit creative with how you do this one. Now, depending on what equipment you have, you will have to change your setup completely. And with my setup, my safeties don't go really low to the ground. A lot of squat racks, you can get those safeties down quite low, and you might be able to put your feet under the safeties with a bit of padding underneath. You might be able to modify a machine. So a really good one, and it's easy in a typical gym setup, is your lat pull down. Basically put your feet under where your knees are being held down and have your knees on the seat, and you face away from the machine and you lower yourself down to a box that should be the same height as the seat where you would normally be sitting. If that doesn't make sense, ask in the questions below and maybe I can make another video in a gym doing that specific variation. However, in my gym, I've got this setup which I had to spend 5 minutes or so tinkering about, thinking of a way to make this safe. So I'll grab the camera and I'll show you what I've done, and that might be able to help influence the way you make your setup too. So let's have a look. So I've got the bench here, I've pushed it right up in the cage as far as it will go, and I've loaded it up with 110 kilos in total. So hopefully 110 kilos won't be lifted off of the safety rails because my whole body weight is going to be levering off it. If that doesn't make sense, you'll see in a moment because I'm going to be demonstrating the exercise. Now, so the bar doesn't roll forward, and especially we don't want it to build momentum and then roll off the end of the cage and crush us, bring us to the floor. I've got some power bands and I've looped them around the bar and then around the bar for storage and then back to the bar. Well, I actually started here and put it on here last. I've done that on both sides, as you can see, and I've also put a bar pad, which I actually, the real name for a bar pad, in case you don't know, is a wussy pad. But I suppose when it comes to my ankles, or anyone's ankles, we're probably going to opt for the wussy pad. But you know, for a barbell back squat, try not to use it if you can toughen up. Yeah, so that's the setup we got going. And I'm also going to be using a Swiss ball, or fit ball, whatever you want to call it. Lots of different names for these. Now what we want to do is put our feet under the bar. It's held nice and securely, and if you're strong enough, you can hold this on your chest and lower yourself down, or arms out straight, and then push yourself up. But I think as a digression, well, something to start with and then progress to that, we want to start with something like this, where our hands are supported and then we roll ourselves down and then pull ourselves up. We can use the assistance of our arms, which is going to be using abs and lats, but we want to really concentrate on feeling the hamstrings, lowering ourselves down. Now, the hamstring muscles are considered a biarthrodial muscle, which means they cross two joints. So they cross the hip joint and they cross the knee joint. Now, often we think of the hamstrings as a knee flexor, but they are also a hip extensor, which means when we lower ourselves down, we are using hamstrings, but we're using it by loading it through the ankle this way. It's a completely different mechanism in how we're loading it up, different to the typical way we do, you know, our hamstring exercises where we're bending the knee, but the weight is on, like the moving part is the ankle, whereas this part, the moving part is our body. And another really important thing to understand is, like I said, it has a strong focus on the negative muscle contraction. So we have our three muscle contraction types: our shortening muscle contraction, or concentric; our isometric, which is when the muscle's contracting but it's not changing length, which is still; and our lengthening muscle contraction. And our lengthening muscle contraction is about 150% stronger than our shortening muscle contraction, and our isometric muscle contraction is somewhere in between, around the 125% mark. And we're really optimizing strength benefits by training with the eccentric loading. The other thing is, from a functional standpoint, if you look at it from an athletic perspective or sport perspective, when we run, we are predominantly pushing through the glutes and the quads and the calves to propel ourselves. It's actually when we decelerate that we put a lot of load on the hamstrings, and a lot of people, particularly in AFL, they tear their hamstrings because they're landing and decelerating at the same time, and that's it puts a lot of load through the hamstrings, and that's when it goes. So if you want to build your hamstrings so they're quite strong, this is a really fantastic exercise for any people that play football or rugby, any of those things. And if you're a bodybuilder, then why not throw it in there too? So give this one a go. Drop me a comment down below letting me know what you think, and tell me how sore you are from doing it. Now, don't do this exercise the day before a game if you play AFL or rugby or any other sport where you're going to be requiring those hamstrings, because the eccentric loading is the most traumatic muscle contraction, and there's going to be more damage which needs to be repaired so that you don't increase your risk factors of these injuries. So before I let you go, don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already, smash that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.